Wake up. Wake up. If you turned it off, the Niners won. Deebo and Tabor Pepper are just now breaking it up. It's time for you to wake up. Damon and Larry, let's talk a little 49er football. They got to win. They had to have it. Let's go.
Monday, November 11th, and Larry, they got the win they needed to have. The amount of drama that the 49ers injected into this game themselves with the Deebo, Tabor Pepper sideline antics, with a catastrophe level day, event level for special teams on punt return, and obviously Moody's misses. It was a day where the 49ers handed the Tampa Bay Buccaneers a chance to beat them, but the Buccaneers still couldn't. The 49ers got away with a little bit of football murder down in Tampa, and there's nothing wrong with that because they needed to win the game, and they did, and thank goodness. My gosh.
Yeah, I mean, we got into a lot of the pregame. I think many of us said, hey, it doesn't matter what it looks like. It just has to be a W. And that's where the 49ers were. They were coming out of the bye. They were 500. They had underachieved. They left some meat on the bone, losing to the Cardinals and Rams in the first half. And despite the fact that the Niners, started slow, the schedule is unrelenting. And the second half schedule is a top 5 schedule. And this Buccaneers team, despite their injuries, had been playing really, really good football. They had taken the Chiefs to overtime on the previous Monday. But this game should have gone to the Niners in a decisive way. It really should have. And if they just made their kicks, they would have won this thing by 12, 2 scores. I predicted in the pregame 31-13. If they had kicked their field goals, they would have won 32-20.
Yeah, they're right in the neighborhood.
Yeah, we were all pretty much in that kind of, it's going to be a one-sided game, but they couldn't make their field goals.
Well, and said, Larry,
it was hard to watch.
The best way for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to win this game is for the 49ers to help them. And my God, the 49ers held their hand and tried to walk them right up to the front porch of come and beat us. And the 49ers still, again, they got away with it. Let me tell you, that is a game that is one of those classic, you watch it with your own 2 eyes, then you dive into the box score, and it's almost like you're looking at 2 different events. Because let me ask you, as you were watching yesterday's game, and I don't, whether you know or don't know the answer to this question, Larry, I'm guessing you do, but when you were watching that game yesterday, at any point in time, did it feel like a season high in passing yards?
Because no, but that's what happens when a lot of the yards come at the end.
Yeah, no, you're right.
A lot of those,
but it was
a lot of those yards came in the fourth quarter.
But here's the thing. That wasn't garbage time yardage. The 49ers needed every inch that they earned in the fourth quarter. It wasn't those aren't throwaway fourth quarter yards. Those had to have them to get into game-winning field goal position yards. So that was the most prolific day passing the ball the 49ers have had this season while you were watching the game. It certainly didn't feel like that. Let me ask you this. When you were watching the game, Larry, did it feel like you were watching the most dominant defensive performance of the season? Because it was.
No.
Because it was. From a yardage standpoint, the Buccaneers were held to 215 total yards. That's the lowest total opponent yards the 49ers have allowed this season. So again, you watch that game with your naked eyes, and there's an awful lot to not like. And then you open up the box score, and once again, there are all sorts of it wasn't as bad as it actually felt indicators. But again, I do trust my own eyes, and I do see the struggles and the repeated pattern of special teams failure that just will not go away. And honestly, here's what I would like to talk to you about today, Larry Krueger. And you tell me what you think, because I think people come to us for a little clarity. You guys have been doing it for a while. They've watched a lot of football. They are good at interpreting at what they see and blah, blah, blah. They read the tea leaves well. 9 games into this season, I'm very comfortable telling you I still don't really know what I'm looking at. There's a lot about this team I like. There's an awful lot about this team I don't trust. And I still don't really know what I'm looking at. Now, in the next 3 weeks, we should know a little more because these are big games. But the window ranges anywhere from, you're back in the big game to colossal disappointment and didn't even make the playoffs. I see it all, man. This could go either way. It really could. 9 games in, I still am not too sure at what I'm looking at.
Well, I understand that too, because, let's be honest. Yesterday, the 10th of November, was the first time the 49ers have won back-to-back games all year. So there's a little bit of this and a little bit of that. A little good, a little bad, a little good, a little bad. That's what this whole season has been. Okay, so what exactly are we seeing? What I think we're seeing is this year without Christian, leading into yesterday, no Christian McCaffrey, the reigning offensive player of the year. Juice, a year further past his prime. Kittle, a year further past his prime. An offensive line that was needed to be upgraded significantly. When I say that, probably needed to be upgraded in a couple spots, but only got upgraded in one. So it's going to be more of like a 2-year, 3-year upgrade. And then a defense that had a heart and soul all-pro player that for whatever reason has never been fully recognized as such. And so we didn't talk that much about it. But Dre Greenlaw, if you're a Niner fan, you know this. He's an all-pro linebacker. I don't care what the all-pro team listed. He's an all-pro linebacker. There's no doubt in my mind. And he's the heart and soul of their team. And he's their physicality. And he's their swagger. And I'll tell you, watching last night's game of Lions-Texans, I had 2 primary takeaways watching that game. One, man, the Lions don't have any problems at all creating all kinds of space. Why is that? Okay. Well, how come the Detroit Lions with an immobile quarterback can create all kinds of opportunity for themselves on offense? And they create space in the red zone at will. And the Niners, everything looks like there's 14 defenders on the field against the 49ers. That was the first takeaway. So obviously their offensive coordinator is doing an amazing job. And
why is it? Is it just Ben Johnson? Is it just, is it the speed?
Ben Johnson.
Linebackers?
It is Ben Johnson, Damon. His to play design is spectacular. You can go back, and I almost feel like going back this week and putting together a video of Detroit Lions red zone just so people can see how incredible he is at creating some space. But the other thing that creates space is a quarterback that can zip it. Goff can do that.
He line that pick yesterday. Imagine if Brock Purdy throws 5 picks in the game.
Yeah, 5.
The Transamerica Pyramid would fall over.
But got to give Goff some credit. You got to give that offensive line some credit, but you also have to give their general manager some credit. They have speed. They have a play they can go to. When it got to 4th down last night and Jared Goff had to complete a ball, he did a nice little rub route to Amon-Ra. They can complete that pass in their fucking sleep. That is what makes the Lions unstoppable. They have a few plays that they can go to in gotta have it moments that they can get it. Where Goff can throw to a spot with a laser and Amon-Ra can run to that exact spot and catch it. And so, Amon-Ra and Goff is a big part of what makes the Lions, but also their play design is great and their personnel's great. Jameson Williams can fly. He creates all kinds of room. Goff's arm creates room. There's no question. Gibbs creates room. So anyway, that was one. The number 2 takeaway from last night is, goddamn, the 49ers blew it by not signing, forget all these other guys, Azeez Al-Shaair. If they had just re-signed Azeez Al-Shaair, the 49ers would still be the 49ers on defense. But they had 3 all-world monster, all-pro type linebackers. It was Greenlaw, it was Warner, and it was Al-Shaair, and they lost 2 of them. One of them because they let him walk in free agency. The other because he got hurt. So they're 2/3 down of the best linebacking core in the league. And it just kills me. It absolutely kills me that Azeez Al-Shaair, who they found, he can run, he can hit. He made a play yesterday on Jahmyr Gibbs where he came across the formation on a dead sprint and just absolutely solo tackled him in the flat. It was just an amazing play. that kind of difference-making speed. You heard the announcers last night, if you watched that game, that, talking up Azeez Al-Shaair. Oh, my goodness, Azeez Al-Shaair. Look at the way he's moving. Look at the way he's closing space.
Cannon.
He was fucking awesome last night. He led them with tackles. He had 8 tackles, 5 solo, 2 tackles for loss. He flies all over the place. He's an amazing player. So they let an amazing player go in the process of seeking what they thought was amazing interior player in Javon Hargrave. So that was a huge fuck up right there, is letting Azeez Al-Shaair out the door. And I realize strong side backers only play a certain percentage of the plays, and you were going to have to pay him a full-time salary for a part-time job. Yeah, but guess what? He also was your insurance against a Warner injury. He was your insurance against a Greenlaw injury. And since Greenlaw got hurt, you had no insurance. You went to Devondre Campbell, and he's hit and miss at best. And you had a tip of the sphere, awesome all-pro linebacker, and you let him walk away. I got.
If you're trying to use Sunday Night Football for lessons of football truth, what do you need to go out and win? The Detroit Lions offensive line is a monster. It's an absolute monster. They are just pushing whoever they play 2 yards downfield on every snap of the football. They are just, it's you go up and you go back against that offensive line. There is really no penetration to be found. And that's why Jared Goff can be a statue back there and get away with it and live to fight another day. They're really special. And how about
an investment? It's just an investment that they made. Penei Sewell, first rounder investment. Frank Ragnow, first rounder investment. Taylor Decker, first rounder investment. That's 3 number ones. Where could the Niners find 3 number ones? Trey Lance, maybe.
How about their kicker, who is like an off the XFL sort of bandied about, not drafted at all. And they got a kicker who is striping it. By the way, that's about as close to missing a kick as you can come with actually making it, but
amazing.
Still, it was a hell of a kick. And, and then obviously that brings us back to Jake Moody. And I know that, Sports Talk Radio is just going nuts with the whole Deebo, Tabor Pepper thing this morning. Couple real quick thoughts. If there was an actual fight there, Deebo's in the hospital. Okay, Tabor, no wide receiver except for maybe 2 or 3 guys in the history of the NFL could get in a fight with an offensive lineman and walk away a winner. That's just
wait. You're saying that Deebo would Tabor Pepper would take down Deebo?
Oh yeah.
See, I was joking with my kid about that last night. I'm like, oh yeah, Tabor Pepper would have taken Deebo behind the woodshed, but I was just busting my kid's chops because I know he wasn't going for it. I actually don't think. Now, if it was Deebo versus Pooney, I'll take Pooney. If it's Deebo versus Banks, I'll take Banks. But Deebo versus Tabor, I think I probably won't.
I think looking at this name. If Tabor's name were Michael Savage, you'd definitely take him. But Tabor Pepper's a tough name to bet on. It's not a good brand for betting, But so look, what happened between the two of them? That happens 3 times a week in practice, just players flaring up, pushing each other. It's a physical sport. Everybody's running hot. It's no big deal. What's a big deal is when it happens in front of Fox's A team in a stadium full of people and a whole bunch of media members who, again, when they look at a football game, don't even know what they're looking at, but they can look at 2 guys shoving each other and, I can speak with great authority on that. And so that's all, your Sports Talk Radio is talking about today. It's no big deal. It's absolutely no big deal. I bet you that everyone smoking peace pipe, at some point in time this week. And even if they don't, I can tell you that Tabor Pepper and Deebo Samuel probably don't need to talk to each other again for the rest of their lives for this team to have all the harmony that it needs. It's going to be fine.
Well, okay, this is my read on this. I mean, it's just, first of all, I don't think it's a bad thing. Okay. Guess who doesn't fight? The San Francisco Giants didn't fight. San Francisco Giants didn't fight.
Yeah. No one was shoving each other. No, Jeff Kent and Barry Bonds were not at each other's throats at any point in time this year in the dugout.
Who didn't fight? Bo Mel's Giants. Why? Because everybody was fucking sleeping. When you really care, and when you're all invested, when you're believe me, this game. I don't know about you, Damon. Where'd you watch the game, by the way?
Right here in my house.
with your who watches with you? Does your wife watch, or is she not really watching?
I'd like to think the world watches with me during the watch party.
No, but I mean, who's in the house? Who's there with you?
Yesterday, everyone just happened to get out of the house. They went to the Oakland Zoo. But normally, it's Jillian. Jillian is a diehard Niners fan, and the only element of my job that she hates is that we can't watch that game together because that game is very much a work moment for me. We don't get to watch together. I don't get to watch Niners games with my boys, which kind of sucks, but this is what I do for a living. So
what was your reaction yesterday? I asked because I'm normally kind of a silent watcher, right? I'm writing notes. I'm thinking,
right.
I'll talk if I'm watching it, if I'm sitting in the press box next to Lund or something, Johnny and I will talk the game through a little bit at a time.
The game. Yeah.
Yeah. Or if I'm sitting at home, I've got 3 sons, which is God's greatest gift on an NFL Sunday, and wait until they get older.
That'll be fun. It'll be fun.
Yeah, so it's super fun, right? Because you sit there and
I had Butcher Boy join me for the watch party. He came in for the second quarter. I did like a little Manning cast where I actually had a guest.
That's cool.
Maybe Larry Krueger joins us during one of these away games when you're not at the stadium.
You know what? Maybe later this year. But my point was just that I was screaming at the TV most of the game, and I don't scream at the TV.
Not a screamer.
I don't even talk. And I was like, when Brock had the ball, I just felt like he held it a little too long. I'm like, get rid of the football. I'm like literally saying that. And then when I was watching on defense, I was like, somebody put some heat on Baker. Or how many times did the 49ers, and this is where they really miss Aziz and they really miss Greenlaw. They're around. I mean, the Bosa one with Baker was criminal, and that's the one everybody's talking about today. But they're around the Buccaneers offensive players, but nobody's thumping anybody. Nobody's hitting anybody. It takes like 6 guys to kind of grab and corral a guy down to the field. What happened to just a gigantic detonating hit and the guy crumbles? I mean, when was the last time you saw a 49er defender just smoke somebody? I mean, it's just, where is the hard hitting? Everybody's a grab and drag tackler. Everybody looks like they're trying to avoid a personal foul penalty. It's like, come on. I mean, that game was so unbelievably frustrating on both sides of the ball, on all sides of the ball, between Jake's misses, the muffed punt, the lack of tackling, crisp tackling, no pass rush. All kind, just Brock, I thought was really bad in the first half. It's really ironic that he had his highest passing day because he was really bad in the first half. When I say that, all these floating passes, all these little ducks. Nothing had any trajectory on. Nothing had. I would talk about Goff throws a laser. There was not a laser thrown from Brock Purdy. Everything was a lollipop.
Yeah, a couple of rainbows for sure. The Christian McCaffrey big play at the end of the game was a little bit of a lollipop. I don't know if that one kind of needed to be because he dropped it into the breadbasket, but
that was an intentional lollipop because he had to release it before Christian could see it. So he had to give some air.
We approve of intentional lollipops. Just not unintentional lollipop. I'll tell you the 2 most frustrating plays of the day from Brock, as far as I was concerned, was the near fumble where Jauan Jennings made one of the top 3 plays of the game when he jumped on that ball. And
it was a fumble.
Yeah, that was a
fumble. Near fumble loss.
Near fumble loss. He fumbled it for sure. It was nearly given back to Tampa Bay, and that would have been probably the game right there.
Yeah, that's probably the game.
And that one play, Larry, where he's buying time, he's looking to make time, he's running to his right with his feet, and he's run out of time, but he's run out of field, and he actually steps out of bounds before he uncorks the get rid of it pass. Like that was like, man, Brock always gets rid of the ball before that moment where he's stepping out of bounds. I thought that was a little just, he's not feeling it today. He's really not. And again, when it's all said and done, when it's over, it's 338 total passing yards, the most passing yards in a single game for Brock since he had 354 in that Seattle game from 2023 that, 49ers, past verbal stories of, Brock's, coming of age will tell you that that's the game where the entire team started to believe in Brock Purdy, that win up in Seattle a couple of years ago. So it was one of the best passing days of Purdy's career on a day where, again, it certainly didn't look like it. And Krueger, who normally watches games quietly, was up and screaming in his living room. And there were moments in time where I was sitting here watching the game just flabbergasted at what I was seeing or what I wasn't seeing out of the Niners. Again, when you were watching that game, did it feel like a dominant performance in any direction? It was the most dominant day passing the ball of the season for the Niners, and it was the best day of opponent yardage this season against the Niners, and it didn't feel like either of those. It felt like Baker Mayfield was having a much better game than he was actually having. It was just a weird.
At halftime had thrown for 153 yards, so he threw for 200 in the second half. In the first half, he was 10 of 16. In the second half, he was 15 of 20. So he was 75% in the second half. The number that jumps out, and it's like we can talk about all these factors, but it all comes down to, does Brock turn it over himself? If Brock himself doesn't turn it over, now he almost did. Like as you said, he fumbled, but JJ fell on it. He threw a couple passes that easily could have been picked, but they weren't.
16
He didn't have a turnover. So the Niners this year, when Brock does not have a turnover himself, 4-0. And Niners career under Purdy, when he doesn't have a turnover by himself, 16-0.
Yeah.
So he just has to take care of the football. If he takes care of the football, they win. I mean, even in a day where the special teams again had a crushing negative play, they still found a way to overcome it. I also felt like they got a break in this game. And the break that I felt like they got was from that first-year offensive coordinator, Liam Cohen. Is that his name? Let me double check that. But yeah, the Buccaneers offensive coordinator. Yeah, Liam Cohen. And he's being hailed as a really good young offensive coordinator, and I'm sure he is. But read the room. The 49ers were having a much, much more difficult time defending Bucky Irving than they were Rachaad White. Rachaad White had 10 carries for 3.1 a carry. Bucky Irving had 13 carries for 5.6 a carry. They got down on the final drive, and it was nut-cutting time. And who did they hand the ball to back-to-back? Rachaad White. I mean, that was a gift, absolute gift. The fact that they could have handed it to Bucky Irving, and the Niners really struggled to tackle Bucky all day, was absolutely an amazing thing that they decided to go to Rachaad White, and the Niners bottled him up, shut him down, and that was it. That was it. I mean, that to me was a huge break, because if they they got down to the 9-yard line, it was 1st and goal on the 9. If they hand the ball to Bucky Irving, a couple times, they probably win the game. Instead, they hand the ball to Rachaad White. He did go 4 yards on 1st and goal down to the 5, Damon. But on 2nd and goal, Evan Anderson, who had just made an illegal hands to the face penalty 2 plays prior, stepped into the backfield, beat his man like a drum, and drilled White. It's led to a 3rd and goal play. And Mayfield went to Jarrett incomplete, and so they had to kick the field goal to tie the game. Otherwise, I mean, it was 1st and goal at the 9. It was 2nd and goal from the 5. And the Niners had just made 3 penalties to extend the drive. That right there, to me, Liam Cohen blew it right there by going to White over Irving.
I think that's a fair analysis, and I guarantee you in Tampa somebody's talking about that, because it did feel like the wrong lever was being pulled. The other guy's working and popping. Like you said, 5.6, 5.9. I mean, it's he's also really good. The book on him was he's really good getting the ball out of the backfield, too, as a receiver, and that proved true. He was a problem. He really was, and it's amazing that they went away from him. It's also amazing to see the 49ers just have so many mistakes on such a crucial drive after pretty much playing a clean game up to that point. And it was just, again, it was a frustrating ending of such a degree. It almost felt like the 49ers lost the game, but they didn't. They won it, and that's what's most important. Welcome It is great to have you here, whether you joined us right at the beginning of the show or joining us now. It's Wake Up with Damon and Larry. Hit like and subscribe across both of our channels, if you would, please. And thanks so much to Sam's Chowder House for supporting us and being the sponsor of this show. When you need your moment of zen, you get down to Half Moon Bay, you get a lobster roll, you enjoy your... There it is, Larry. Larry's trying to make the world a better place just by showing this video again. Look at those blue skies. Look at those happy people. And wait till you see what is waiting for you down at Sam's Chowder House. Go and get to Half Moon Bay. Do it before Thanksgiving dinner is served. There's an awful lot of kitchen time coming up for everybody over the holidays. So go treat mom, go treat the chef in your house to a great day. If you're coming into town for a 49er game, you're flying in for the Seattle game this coming weekend, get to Sam's Chowder House. You'll be very happy that you did. Thanks so much to them for sponsoring. And look, Larry, I want to work positive. We're talking about lobster rolls. We give away the lobster roll.
By the way, David, we got to show the picture because we also, not just Sam's Chowder House in Half Moon Bay, we also have this little ditty, I should say. We got this from Sean Mulholland the other day. He caught up with the Sam's Chowder Mobile. So go to Sam's Chowder House website. If you're like, hey man, Half Moon Bay, I'm working in South San Jose. I'm in Campbell. I'm gonna have a hard time getting out to Half Moon Bay. All right, maybe that's the case, but guess what? They have the Sam's Chowder Mobile, and it goes all throughout the Bay Area, and they have a schedule on their website. So just go to their website and meet up with the Chowder Mobile and have some lunch. You'll love it. You'll absolutely love it.
Chowder Tracker. Chowder Tracker. By the way, someone was like, Damon, you're looking very well put together. I just got out of the shower. I'm a little too well groomed from the show. I got to mess myself up a little bit. Larry, I'm giving my lobster roll to Christian McCaffrey, and I'm inviting him for seconds if he wants. It wasn't the day on the ground that a lot of people remember, but boy, he looked like himself. I thought, maybe a touch slower than he will be next week, but just look at what we saw out of Brandon Ayuk and look at what we saw out of Trent Williams and how slow those guys approached their first handful of games this year. And Christian McCaffrey basically hit the ground running, and Kyle asked him to play a full, you weren't ever going to Germany to get checked out level football game, his first football game back. And we can get into where was Garendo, where was Mason, and we will in just a second. But 13 carries, 39 yards, 6 catches, 68 yards, 107 total yards for scrimmage in his first game back, the 56th such game of his career. Christian McCaffrey is just an incredible football player. And
always has been.
Yeah.
Has been.
He is going to make this season start looking and feeling a little bit more like it should, if the rest of the 49ers will allow that to happen by not making catastrophic mistakes all over the football field. I really think that McCaffrey is the antidote. I know he didn't pay off in red zone money from heaven this week. He will. I believe in Christian McCaffrey. Again, I'm confused about this team, because it does a lot of things I think are very important and very consistent. In a league where finding consistency is impossible. Larry, look at box scores. I invite 49er fans who are complaining about Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy and the offense at all times to just open up other box scores, and you tell me how often total yardage is above 400. I mean, this is a league sitting in the 280 to 312, 310, 300 yardish range. The Niners are averaging more than 400 a game. They move the football as good as any team in the sport, but the red zone frustrations and the Jake Moody misses leave everybody pulling their hair out. I think they're going to get better in that one area, and that should make the season a little bit easier. But man, it was great to have McCaffrey back. Without a doubt, Larry, he gets my lobster roll with one lobster claw falling off of that lobster roll, and I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to hand it to Jauan Jennings, who was also awesome yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, JJ's such the man. He's such the biggest money player on the team offensively. I mean, he's just an awesome. You put money on the table, JJ's going to show up. He's going to make play after play after play after play. He's awesome. He's incredible. Underpaid, undervalued, appreciated. I mean, he's just a tremendous player. I look at him too, and I think of some of these teams like Miami that have all this speed. What they need is a JJ. If you you need to have this guy if you have a lot of speed, because he complements that perfectly. But McCaffrey, let's talk about McCaffrey for a second, because the one thing the Niners have not had they led this category in the past, and this year they're dead last. It's run after the catch. They're not getting any. They're not getting any yards after contact and yards after the catch for the most part in the pass game. And yet yesterday, Christian came back, and the 49ers got 179 yards after the catch against the Buccaneers. They averaged 7.2 yards after the catch per reception. So,
Deebo,
it wasn't one source, by the way. It wasn't one guy. All five receivers that caught a pass had at least 34 yards after the catch. And I would give my lobster roll to Ricky Pearsall, who had a sweet 46-yard catch and run for a touchdown, finished the day with 4 catches for 73 yards and a touchdown. 35 yards came after the catch. Pearsall is not just has an opportunity, he has to step up. There is no Ayuk. I mean, they don't have anybody else. They're going to need Ricky to step up and perform. And it's hard. It's hard for rookie receivers to step into this league and gain separation and consistently produce. Look around the league. It's very difficult. But if Pearsall, who looked great in this game and has looked a little bit better each game since he's returned, if he can get it going and get in lockstep with Purdy, I think Purdy to Pearsall can be the Niners' Goff to Amon-Ra. He has the ability to run the precise routes. He has the ball skills. He has him and Purdy, I think, can get on the same page. I think you're going to see Pearsall emerge as the Niners version of Amon-Ra. I don't mean he's going to have 110 receptions in a year.
Slow down. I don't know if he's about to lead the NFL in receptions.
No, he's not going to lead the NFL in receptions. But what he's going to be that everybody in the joint knows you're going Purdy to Pearsall, and they can still make it happen. They can still complete passes. And that's what Goff and Amon-Ra have right now. It's 4th and 4, and the Campbell's keeping the offense on the field, and they line up in Goff in the shotgun, and before the snap they're going to throw it. And everybody knows they're going to Amon-Ra most likely, and yet nobody can stop it because Amon-Ra knows Goff knows Amon-Ra. They know they're on the same page. They've worked it and repped it on the field, and that's where Purdy and Pearsall are headed, in my mind.
So here's what I like most about this. I think I saw the number in a Dave Lombardi column. This man was shot 71 days ago. To go from shot 71 days ago to 4 catches, 73 yards, and a 46-yard touchdown, the first of his career, is a remarkable story that is worthy of a 30 for 30 on its own. I mean, the fact that he's playing at all this year is amazing. The fact that he's alive, to be completely honest with you, is amazing, much less now producing in the hardest sport in the world. And I'll tell you what I like about Slick Ricky, too, is that hezzy. He dropped a hezzy move on a guy. I mean, he thought he lulled everyone to sleep with his "I'm a white boy" in 3rd gear, and then he just put a little stink leg on him, and then it popped, and then just went. And he was faster than anyone assumed he was going to be, and he outran the rest of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. I mean, that was just a great play by him. Great body control. And the fact that, he's a Florida guy back in Florida. Tampa Bay is 2 hours away from Gainesville. I'm imagining he had a lot of family and friends there. So awesome day for him. And yeah, you want to give him a little bit of your lobster roll. That's a good lobster offering for Slick Ricky. He certainly has earned it. That was, again, there's a lot to be concerned about the 49ers. There's no doubt. There's no denying their flaws and their problems. But there is a lot to like still. There really is. Now, the lot to like crowd gets droned out by the complaining loudly about everything at all times crowd. And I'm not even telling you that they're totally off base. But this is a team that got the win that keeps them on the path to go where they want to go. It's hard to sell you on the X marks the spot of where this year is. It really is. I don't know. I don't know. Could they be a Super Bowl team? It doesn't really feel like it, but yes, conceptually, of course they could be. First round playoff exit with a home loss. Yeah, I could buy that too. I could see how that's where this ends in disappointment. And we can look back at all the season at that point, and hindsight will be 2020. And we'll, Larry, I could totally feel us doing the Monday after. The whole season didn't really fit together and it was all weird the whole time and we should have known then, but we were holding out hope. Like, I could see this year going that way too. Do you think they will make a change? A coaching change, a special teams change at all? Because I just don't think they will. This is who they are. The band is on the field. The team is on the floor. This is who the 49ers are. The trade deadline has come and gone. There's no real changing anything other than signing dudes off the street or off practice squads. And that's not where Super Bowls are usually won. So we are looking at what we got. They will add Dre Greenlaw to what effect we do not know what he looks like when he returns. How you handicapping this, Krueger? What are we looking at? What the fuck are we looking at with the San Francisco 49ers? I got no idea.
I think I know exactly what we're looking at. We're looking at a team that had some holdouts, has some age, was in the Super Bowl, got off to a slow start, despite the fact that the schedule said don't get off to a fucking slow start because the second half of the schedule is daunting. But they're so tied into their other philosophies and let's, be hardline negotiators and, we're not going to give in until the 11th hour and all this stuff. Well, great. You negotiated yourself into a disappointing first half. Ayuk was a shell of himself when he came. He was incredible last year. He came out of camp playing at an incredible level. He wasn't anywhere close to that this year. And then he got hurt. Now he's out for the year. Okay, so you lost Ayuk. Your core of Trent and George, they're a year older. They're a year further past their prime. You haven't had the reigning offensive player of the year. You've been an absolute nightmare on special teams. You're leaning on a lot of young players. I think that's what we're looking at. But we're also looking at a team that's got probably the best chance to outrun the Cardinals, Rams, and Seahawks for the division title. And can win playoff games on the road. So everything's there for them. It hasn't been pretty. And they're not the same team without Ayuk, but it's an injury league and, the Lions are not the same team without Aiden Hutchinson, but they keep winning. So it's like, nobody's going to cry for anybody. The Lions lost a better player than the Niners lost. The Lions lost a bigger pillar, a bigger foundation piece than the Niners lost, and they're rolling. So there is no excuses. There will be no acceptable excuses, but that's what's going to happen. They're going to outrun the Cardinals, the Rams, and the Seahawks, and they're going to win the division. They're going to get into the playoffs. They're going to win a couple games. They're probably going to wind up losing to Detroit in the championship game, and we're going to see Lions-Chiefs Super Bowl, or maybe Lions-Texans in the rematch from last night. That's what I think is going to happen.
Feels like we're living in that world. Yeah, it's about where we are. And I will say this league is so volatile, though. I mean, it really is. It's so volatile. What you expect, like, are almost guaranteed to feel that's going to happen. God, the opposite happens like so many times in this league. It's so hard. Again, and I think the 49ers just in some way showed this in Tampa. It's so hard for teams to be consistent from one half to the next, much less 1 week to the next, 1 month to the next. It's like football thoughts aren't even related to each other in the same game. So it's why the league with, I think, middling play this year. I mean, middling NFL type of year. It's not been a great year of football, I don't think, around the league. A lot of just that. It doesn't remind me of the league I used to know type of football around the league. But we're fascinated by it because any game could break in any direction at any time. I mean, it's like every NFL game has become an NBA game. Like, oh man, you're down, 3 touchdowns. This thing's in the barn. It's over. No, it's not. No. These teams just catch fire all over the place. They really do. Or they catch the opposite of fire. They go ice cold and they lay down and you can move the ball all over them. It's so As soon as you think you got something down in this league, something else happens. Like, we're praising Baker Mayfield, right? We spent the last week praising Baker Mayfield. Man, he finally got to the right situation. He's finally matured as a young man. He's matured. He's professional now. Blah, 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 blah. He's happy. His wife is happier in Florida. Whatever it is. How about this? You want to talk about time being a flat circle? I saw this from Steve Pelzolo. Baker Mayfield with the Browns, his record, Larry, was 29-30. Baker Mayfield with the Buccaneers, his record is 13-14. He's just one game under 500 no matter what. So it's like, it's a much better Baker Mayfield, but it's kind of the same Baker Mayfield too. Like,
that was another frustrating thing. It's like, I mean, I was thinking about this game, how to beat Baker, and I'm like, everybody's got to get their arms up. Why? Because he throws from a low trajectory. He's about 6 feet and change. And he loves to throw the football. So, but the Niners didn't get their hands up at once all day, not once all day. So I got to sit there and go, well, Sorensen, Kasarik, what are you coaching? What are you coaching if you're playing 6 feet and change Baker Mayfield with his 3/4 to near sidearm release arm slot, and you don't have your defense, and he's getting rid of the ball like absolutely as fast as possible. And then once Tristan Wirfs went down, it was like they were not going to hold the ball at all. It was coming out. So you're not sacking the quarterback. So get your fucking hands in the air. I mean, how complicated is it? I mean, seriously, you're not going to sack the quarterback. So how do you affect the quarterback? You put your fucking hands in the air. Everybody raises their arms like this. And when the guy's 6 feet and change, that's a major defense mechanism for a defensive lineman against a 6-foot quarterback who throws from a 3/4 arm slot. Did they ever put their arms up? I didn't see it once all day.
I was told we were going to get the Nick Bosa revenge. This is for America game. Where was that? Where was that? Nick Bosa had one of his least effective games of the entire year. I was promised excellence.
How about his play with Baker, where he's allowing Baker to stiff arm him? Dude, you're 260 and you live in the weight room. If you can't handle Baker Mayfield, you got real problems. It's like, knock those arms down, or either yank his arm and get him to the ground. I mean, you're a fucking football player. You're a defensive lineman. Sack the quarterback. Or how about this? How about just grab his arm and dive down at his legs? Instead, Nick, with a smile on his face, looks like they're doing a dance, and then Baker got the ball off. It's like, what are we doing?
Like, here's the thing. It's easy to say, come on, Nick Bosa, be better. Dude, Baker Mayfield made a hell of a play right there. Baker Mayfield must be, have a decent squat rack record for a guy his size to survive that play, to keep going, keep his legs chugging. For a non-athlete, he sure was an athlete in that moment. I was impressed by that. But, dude, Baker Mayfield has Nick Bosa's number. He had it in college, and it felt like he did everything but win the game against Nick Bosa yesterday. He didn't plant a Sooner flag in the middle of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers logo, but he's got a little ownage. Let me also just bring up to another guy who was a candidate to get the Sam's Lobster Roll MVP of the day, and that was George Kittle. Larry, this team is lost in the dark without George Kittle. He probably right now is their Len Eschmont Award winner. He is the breath of life that this team cannot find in the red zone. He is the only dude who is out there scoring red zone touchdowns. 7 touchdowns now on the year, 3 catches, 57 yards. Why not more? I mean, I know that he is a tremendous blocker and you want him in to block, but you got to get this guy out in a pattern. You've got to get Nick Bosa more opportunities to make plays with the football. And George Kittle, you got to give more opportunities. This guy is, you want to know how prolific he is to the 49ers? Here's who George Kittle is. In his next 6 catches, he's going to pass both Dwight Clark and Roger Craig to occupy sole possession of 3rd place on the all-time franchise receptions list. Jerry Rice, Terrell Owens, George Kittle. That's how it's going to go. In 6 more catches, he will be 3rd all-time in receptions. Throw that guy the ball more. Get that guy more touches. It's only going to help the afternoon. I'm convinced of it. When you find something that works and Kittle still works, please keep going back to it. So hopefully it's more Kittle the rest of the way.
Once again, and this criticism is aimed at Lynch and Shanahan. You lost Brandon Ayuk for the year, okay? You lost him for the year. You don't have other receivers other than rookies to step up. So now you're asking Jacob Cowing and Ricky Pearsall to step up. How about use your all-pro tight end more in the pass game? Nah. Let's just target him 4 times. We're going to give him 4 targets. 4 targets on the day. 4. He caught 3 of them for 57 yards, including a 33-yarder. And I know the counter. Oh, he's too valuable as a blocker. Go find a fucking blocking tight end. My God. Go find an offensive tackle who you think's got good feet and say you're our blocking tight end. Heck, Jim Harbaugh turned Scott Matlock from the Boise State defensive tackle into a blocking fullback / tight end. He does it every year. He finds some big behemoth, strong inline blocker and says, hey, guess what, buddy? You're a tight end. And the guy's like, oh, hey, great, I'm a tight end.
How about this? If you need someone to block next to Trent Williams or Colton McKivitz, ask Jalen Moore to do it. Why can't Jalen Moore go out there and be the blocking tight end?
I mean, I just watched Mississippi beat Georgia over the weekend. Mississippi's got a 325-pound defensive tackle named Willie Pegues, I believe. I might have gotten the first name wrong, but his last name's Pegues. They're using him as a running back in short yardage, and they've handed him the ball like 14 times, and he's got like 7 touchdowns and 7 first downs. He's never been stopped. His name's Willie Pegues, and he's 3.25. This is the wave of the future. Look what the Ravens are doing. They're putting monster bodies at tight end. Look what the Eagles are doing. They're putting monster bodies up on the line of scrimmage in short yardage. And the Niners, they lose Charlie Warner to Atlanta, and all of a sudden George Kittle's got to be sacrificed as a receiver because he's too valuable as a blocker. I mean, Pline is a receiver. Tongus is a receiver. But Sauerbert was signed to be a blocker. So, I mean, put him out there and let him block. And use Kittle as a receiver. You need Kittle as a receiver. And they don't seem like they get it.
Pline is the size of a Kenmore refrigerator, the kind where you get the ice right through the door. The guy's huge. How come he can't play his way?
Well, he's raw. I mean, they're trying to give him a redshirt year, I'm sure. And that's fine. That's fine. But guess what? There are other big blocking, slow-footed tight ends / offensive tackles that are all over the place. Go do a 10-person workout, find out who the best blocking free agent is, and go sign him. You don't need – what is Braden Willis doing for the 49ers?
Nothing.
Please, somebody explain that to me. Kittle's your receiver. Tongus is a receiver. Pline eventually is your receiver down the – you don't have – what would you say Braden Willis does? He gets absolutely ragtagged as a blocker. He can't block at all. So what is he here for?
What would you say it is you do here?
Yeah, I mean, go get a blocking tight end and use that guy as an inline blocker and use George as a receiver. You need more receivers with no Ayuk. You can't afford to use George Kittle as an inline blocker. Go find and you're never going to find a receiver like George. So go find a dominant blocker and free him up to be a receiver.
I want a 4 wide receiver set with Deebo on one side, Jennings on the other, Kittle in the slot, McCaffrey in the slot, Jordan Mason in the backfield. Give me that. Let me see what that looks like.
Exactly. I got to ask Shanahan that question again. Why not flex out Christian and use him as your Ayuk? And so you can get Mason and Garendo, who are also kind of game-breaking backs, on the field.
And by the way, how come neither of those guys made the flight to Tampa? I mean, it's great to have Christian McCaffrey back, but man, Kyle didn't wait a millisecond to forget he had 2 other running backs on his team. And oh, by the way, Patrick Taylor, he got waived last week. I didn't even know that until today. Yeah. I'm like, where's Patrick Taylor? His ass got waived. Okay. Well, then do something with Guerendo and Mason. Don't just let these guys collect dust.
Okay. The Mason one I'm okay with because he still probably has some after effects of the AC joint.
All right.
But I mean, okay, so we talked about it. We talked about it. We talked about it in the pregame. What was the good split of carries? And to me, it was 30 to 35 carries would be the goal. They got 22. Okay, so you're going for 30. I wanted maybe about a dozen carries for McCaffrey, and maybe 5 to 10 each for Guerendo and Mason. Well, McCaffrey got his 13 carries. He got 6 more touches as a receiver, so we got 19 touches, but only 1 touch for Mason, only 1 touch for Guerendo. I mean, that's just to me. I mean, if you're not that good, you're not going that good. And why would you want to put that all on McCaffrey on the first game back? But I mean, they know his durability and what he can endure, I guess, better than we do. But my goodness, I mean, Guerendo's a game breaker. Mason is a really, really tough back to tackle. It's like, use those guys. I mean,
I don't even know if it's fair to say Guerendo's a game breaker. We don't know
he is a game breaker.
So let's not stop exploring, right? Let's not stop exploring these 2 new discovered quality NFL running backs. I think Dan Campbell would be using them. I think other coaches would look at a deep backfield and think, this is an advantage that I should play into, not something that I should walk away from. And it's, Kyle Shanahan doing Shanahan-y things in his incredibly stubborn way that sometimes leads fans pulling their hair out. So with a team, Larry, that officially left enough points and enough quality play out on the field to have lost a game, but didn't, was that a gritty win? You and Kevin, did you figure when that one was over, did you go, man, gritty win by the 49ers? It doesn't feel like that. I guess it was. Was that a gritty win? Or was that it didn't matter. It's a life win.
I thought it was a great win. Why? Because you literally scored 32 points, except you missed the field goals. You did it. Brock Purdy did enough for the 49ers to produce 32 points. I got a lot of criticism this morning, though, for Kyle Shanahan, because why are you setting it up for Jake Moody? Why are you setting it up for a field goal? Why are we forgetting about George Kittle? But why are you playing for a field goal with a kicker who is making his first start after being gone for a month with a high ankle sprain? Right. I don't know. I mean, there was a minute left in the first half. Let's go to that last drive before the end of the first half. Purdy completes a 30-yard pass to Jennings. Did Shanahan, with 3 timeouts, call a timeout? No. He let the clock run. And eventually, he went to a field goal, and he missed it. So I don't know. I mean, the Niners, the red zone issues are still the red zone issues. They still are an absolute circus in the red zone. Their special teams. I mean, if you're not firing the coach, you got to kind of wonder about the Niners' accountability. I mean, is there any accountability if you're not going to fire? What does it take? What would the coach have to do? To get fired? Because 3 missed field goals and another major fuck up on a muffed punt on special teams. But I mean, whose decision was it to say goodbye to Anders Carlson as well? And rush Jake Moody back. There was no Carlson was 5 for 5 on field goals, and you're in a rush. I mean, let him miss one first. Instead, your backup kickers went 8 for 8, and then you rush to get Jake back out there, and he misses 3 and almost costs you the game.
Right. If that's not just because you drafted him, then what is it? What would you think? He's got more power, more leg. What is the reason why
he's got more leg power? But I mean, come on. I mean, and that's a factor. I'm not saying it's not a factor. It is a factor, and it's an important factor. But making field goals at the end of the day is the job 1 and 1A of any kicker. And if you don't make, it's like, I want a kicker who can kick it through the back of the end zone, who also makes kicks. Nobody's like, hey, I want a guy to kick it through the back of the end zone. I don't care if he makes kicks. I want a guy who makes kicks and can kick it through the back of the end zone in that order.
Do you think Deebo Samuel would make a change on special teams if it were up to him?
Well, and that's chicken shit from Deebo. It's like, Deebo, you've sucked plenty this year. Seriously, Deebo broke like 2 tackles in his first 5 games.
Right.
Deebo gets hardly any. Deebo as a runner averages like 2 yards a carry. I mean, Deebo is a far cry from the Deebo of old.
We got to shelve that Deebo out of the backfield play. It is fooling no one, never anymore.
They got a 10-yard run on it in the first half, but I mean,
you're throwing away a play basically every single time you give Deebo the ball in the backfield. You're throwing it away.
But Deebo, how about this? Worry about your goddamn self. Don't worry about the kicker. Now, on one hand, the kicker's got to make kicks. And guys hold each other accountable. And on to some degree, I'm like, you know what? I'm okay with Deebo holding him accountable to some degree. So I kind of understood that. But don't put your hands on anybody. Come on, bro. Get your hands off of Tabor Pepper. And he's like, Tabor Pepper, I didn't say nothing to Tabor. Tabor is just trying to be a big bro. Well, you know what? Guess what? You're attacking a guy in the middle of a game that you're going to need later in the game to win you the game.
Yeah.
How in the fucking right mind is that ever a good decision? How is it ever good to mentally run down a guy who you're going to need to perform like 5 minutes from now? It's not a good idea. It's selfish. It's stupid. And he should apologize. And for Pepper, good for Pepper. Good for Pepper. Yeah. Pepper's like, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. You're not so great. You shut the fuck up. And then all of a sudden it got back into, hey, now Deebo's going at Pepper. Now he's putting his hands on Pepper's throat and this and that. Deebo made a mistake, dude. You don't put your hands on your teammates and you don't run down your kicker in the middle of the goddamn game because guess what? You need him to make a kick. If you want to run him down after the game, it's a different deal. But in the game, come on, man, you need him.
Talk to him in the locker room or whatever. How about this? You're a wide receiver. Just catch balls and get into the end zone. Shut the fuck up. The reason why this field goal kicker's out here is because you guys aren't getting the job done. So there's an element of that too going on, right? Also, I hope I wish that Tabor Pepper would have turned around and just said to him, hey, I'm a Pepper, you're a Pepper, he's a Pepper, she's a Pepper. Wouldn't you like to be a Pepper too? That would have shut him up right there. I am... Yeah,
but I like a guy who's going to stand up for his friends. I like a guy who's going to stand up for his teammates. Don't run guys down. Yeah. You're not living in a glass. You're not living in some pristine spot. You're not Justin Jefferson. You're not Chase. Whatever. You're not Jamar Chase. You're not an elite guy at this point. So Stop pointing the finger. Stop pointing the finger at other people.
The entire season probably hinges on the next 3 games, and I think there is a roadmap through the next 3 games that must be followed in order to reach the postseason. What you got is a must-win followed by a must-split. You got to beat Seattle. Got to beat Seattle at home, and then you got to take 1 game off the 2-game road trip, Buffalo, Green Bay. Got to take one of them. And I think if they do that, if they start this second half 3-1, they're where they need to be, Larry. They're on track in a lot of different ways. Still playing frustrating football, probably making special teams mistakes the entire way through. But as long as they keep the wins, losses, math where it needs to be, they're where they need to be in some weird way. So do you think they're going 3-1 here? Do you think they're going they got one in the bank?
In which game? What Seattle? There's 3 games,
right? But they've so they got one of the wins. They beat Tampa Bay, so that's the first of the 4. Do you think they go 2-1 in their next 3? Beat Seattle, split the road trip.
I think they beat Seattle, and yeah, I think they could split. I think they could split against Green Bay and Buffalo. I don't know which game they could win, but I think they can beat both those teams.
Technically,
that's the one thing about the 49ers is that they can rise up, especially now with Christian back. If one of these weeks Greenlaw is going to be back. I was on with Jody Mack on CBS Sports Radio last night. He's like, "How long for Greenlaw?" And I said, "Jody, I don't know. He was sprinting with his helmet on this week on the side. I would say 3 weeks." So Seattle, Green Bay, Buffalo. Maybe he comes back December 8th against the Bears at home, something like that. I think Greenlaw. I said it at the time. he tore the Achilles on Super Bowl Sunday. It was February. They said he was going to be back this year around mid-season. I said, there's no way he's going to be back in mid-season. From an Achilles, he's going to be back in mid-season. I said, he's going to be back right around Thanksgiving, and I'll hold to that. The Green Bay's a couple days before Thanksgiving. Buffalo's a couple days after Thanksgiving. My guess is they may get conservative and try to hold him out till December 8th against the Bears. That would give him 5 weeks of regular season to, get it tuned up for the playoffs.
Caleb Williams was sacked 9 times yesterday. So, getting everybody back on the field for a Bears game could be a feel-good moment for this defense. The Bears are going in the wrong direction. Eberflus might be fired by the time the Chicago Bears
his record. Yeah, his record's bad.
Yeah.
I will say this. I mean, every week the schedule looks a little different, right? Like literally 3-4 weeks ago, like going into the Seattle game on October 10th. I was looking at that Tampa road game going, that's a fucking loss. Because Evans is cooking, Godwin's cooking, Tampa's scoring all kinds of points. Their defense is getting healthier, and I'm like, that's going to be a loss. And then they lose Godwin, and they lose Evans, and suddenly it's like, man, you sure as hell better win that game. I'm looking at the Niners' schedule ahead, and I'm thinking, Buffalo, to me, looks really scary as far as the way they're playing right now. They to me look really, really good. Chicago, on the other hand, 3-4 weeks ago, looked like they were going to be a challenge, and now that game's looking kind of easy. So, and then like the Miami game 2 or 3 weeks ago was looking like it was going to be easy, and now it might be actually a little bit more difficult. So,
you want to know?
Arizona too. Arizona at the end. Arizona looked like they were teetering, and now Arizona's made a trade. They just got a nice big win over the weekend. That game at Arizona in Week 18 very much could be a loss.
One of the things I think you got to be
challenging
for, what you got to be rooting for a little bit is for this guy right here.
Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass.
I think you almost need to root for the Lions to keep on looking dominant so they get to that Week 16 game and don't even really need it.
I know. Yeah, that's a major one. Maybe that's a throwaway game. I doubt it will be because it's, it's not the last week. It's the second to last week. But maybe. Maybe, and who knows? I mean, will the Lions play that thing straight out? I mean, the Lions are a tremendous football team on both sides of the ball. I bet them last night on the money line and sat there, and I just felt like I was going to win the entire game. Even when they were down 23-7 at half, I'm like, I'm going to win this game. I mean, the Lions are coming back because it wasn't just that the Lions have the firepower; it's how quickly they score. This is, if you looked at their game yesterday, Damon. I'm gonna bust this out real quick. I want to double check this
real quick. Hey, Larry, did you get a hold of him?
Come on, Deece nut.
Let's say, okay, so the Lions, second half scoring plays. David Montgomery touchdown, 3 plays, 44 yards in a minute 10. Amon-Ra, 9-yard pass from Jared Goff. 7-play drive, 6 minutes or 64 yards, 3 minutes and 11 seconds. The 58-yarder, 7-play drive, 43 yards, 320. The 52-yarder, 6 plays, 18 yards, minute 51. I'm just saying they can move the ball quickly. They can. I mean, if you go look at their box score, there's chunk yardage plays. They've. Laporta had a 37-yard play. Jamison Williams had a 23-yard reception. Jahmyr Gibbs had a 33-yard reception. Montgomery had a 24-yard reception. Gibbs had a 20-yard run. I mean, they get big chunk plays out of Gibbs, out of Jamison, out of Amon-Ra, out of Laporta. Laporta had a 37-yard reception. So, I mean, it's just the Lions. It's not that they have this awesome offense. It's that they don't. They can score fast. I mean, they can really score fast.
They can. I bet you know what? Here's the thing, though. I'm gonna not pretend that the last 70 years of football didn't also happen. Watch the Lions spit the bit in the postseason. They probably will.
You think so?
Betting on the Lions to win it all has never sounded like a good idea until just like 2 weeks ago. So let's not pretend it's now religion in the NFL. Oh, the Lions, there's no stopping this team. History might stop this team at some point.
5-0 on the road, man. They're 8-1 overall. They're looking great. They fell into a 23-7 hole at halftime against a very good Houston Texans team and came back and beat them by a field goal. And it was impressive, man. It was impressive.
So before Larry, I see we got a lot of super chats we got to get into. Everyone like and subscribe. Thank you very much. It's Wake Up, brought to you by Sam's Chowder House. Like it over on Larry's channel. Come on over to my channel. No matter where you're watching, we're co-streaming. Give a little love to both channels. Make sure you're subscribed to both channels. Notify. Don't miss a thing when we go live. Throughout any point in time during the week. I got some Brock Purdy stuff for you here. What else you got, Larry?
Okay, good. Oh no, I just wanted to make sure that we don't go. The Niners made a transaction today that I think is actually a pretty good transaction, so we can hit that as well. Okay. Go ahead. Tell me about Purdy.
Yeah, they added the corner from the New York Giants, he doesn't have an awful lot from scrimmage out there, but he's a special teamer, right?
Well, no, I like him. I liked him at Notre Dame. He's a good football. Nick McLeod, but it's an interesting signing because not only did the Niners get Nick McLeod, he basically was let go last Tuesday by the New York Giants because he declined to take a pay cut. They were trying to reduce his base salary before the start of the year, but they couldn't reach an agreement. And so they kind of, they said they would deal with it at the trade deadline. The guy started 5 of 7 games this season. And he's a pretty good athlete. I liked him at Notre Dame. He's a good sized corner. He's only 26. He's got starting experience. He's got experience on special teams. The Niners, rank 30th in special teams DVOA. So they need all the good special teamers they can find. But this guy actually can play from scrimmage. He's got size. He's smart. He played at Notre Dame. He's good against the run. This is a good football player. I mean, for November the 11th, to be able to pick Nick McLeod off the street, I think that's a very, very under the radar pickup. I really like it. Go ahead.
We'll see. We'll see what it means. I mean, again, the 49ers will add a player that you might want to be excited about. And then, it's Jacob Cowing. And look, Cowing might not have been responsible for that muff punt entirely. He did it feel like, I'm surprised there wasn't a little kick catch interference like even looked at on replay for there. It felt like he was kind of pushed into a little bit. But let me just tell you, the 49ers coaches, when it comes to getting Jacob Cowing up to speed, have not done their jobs. Jacob Cowing, I think we agree, he's got talent. He is an absolute no-show. He might have talent, but he also totally sucks because he's been targeted 3 times. He's got 2 catches for 50 yards in the entire year. And he is a special teams hold your breath at all times. Even when he did a nice return yesterday, he's falling forward throughout the entirety of the return. I don't know about Jacob Cowing. This guy's either going to turn into something here or he is going to be out of the NFL, doesn't even get a second contract. I mean, just get
we just need to pump the brakes. I mean, first of all, I agree. He's having a hard time keeping his footing as a punt returner. All right. The Niners need to have a meeting and make some decisions about how they view their football team. Kyle Shanahan will talk about special teams very candidly. He said it 3 or 4 weeks ago at a presser. I don't want to win the game on special teams. I just don't want to lose the game on special teams.
Right. That approach ain't working, Kyle.
That's the statement. We don't want to win the game on special teams. We just don't want to lose the game on special teams. Okay. So what is a consistent idea with that philosophy? Trent Taylor.
Yes.
He's on the roster. He's the most sure-handed punt returner by far. He's not going to drop the ball. He's not going to fumble the ball. He's not going to give you jack shit as a return guy, but he is not going to fumble it. Instead, we don't want to win the game on special teams. We just don't want to lose it. But let's go and put a smallish rookie, receiver back there and who can't keep his feet and has slipped down like 4 times already. And let's go with him. That's inconsistent with Kyle's statement of I just don't want to lose it on special teams. Then go with Trent Taylor.
Right.
Then go with Trent Taylor.
The sure-handed, doesn't make a mistake guy that you signed to be the don't make mistake guys on special teams. He hasn't even been dressed for a single game day this year. Dress a player that might be able to help you. What are they waiting for? Again, if you're
where's the consistency of thought?
If you're not going to correct what needs to be corrected, what are you doing as a coach? I mean, how Kyle can be so detail-oriented about everything and just have this special teams gray area that never goes away is astonishing to me. It really is astonishing to me. And, I've been saying get rid of Snyder since week 4. And every game since then, I think has almost gotten worse. I mean, it's hard to explain. Again, if an alien landed,
be consistent. I mean, be consistent. If you don't want to lose the game on special teams, then take your really sure-handed return guy and let him return. If you do want to take chances on special teams, go with the fastest guy in your team, which is Jacob Cowing. But I mean, it's like, my goodness, you put Deebo back there. Obviously, you had the foresight to say, well, I want Deebo back there. I mean, my goodness, get Trent Taylor out there.
I'm afraid.
And I like Cowing, by the way. I like Cowing as a receiver. I think Cowing could be an answer for them as a receiver down the field to help replace Ayuk. But use him as a receiver. He's a receiver.
Larry's been targeted 3 times all year. He's got 2 catches for 50 yards. He is an afterthought. He is Danny Gray in another jersey.
No, he's better than Danny Gray. And not only that, this guy did it at UTEP. He did it at Arizona. He's done it in different offenses. He's just, don't put him as a punt returner. Let him put him out there on the field and let him separate down the field and throw him the football, because that's what he is. And if you throw him the football down the field, guess what? Guess what's not down the field? Defensive linemen and linebackers and the kinds of guys that can deliver huge hits and make him cough up the football and get hurt. So play him and use him down the field as a receiver. You don't even have any speed on this team. It's the slowest wide receiver core in the history of football if you take away Jacob Cowing. You got to have, without Ayuk, you have to have Pearsall and Cowing, and when he gets healthy, Conley contribute. Otherwise, you're going to be in a world of hurt. All right, let's go to the supers.
He hasn't seen a target since the Kansas City game. He had 1 catch for 41 yards, another catch for 9 yards, and that's it. Those are his 2 catches. People here in the chat are saying Cowing's a playmaker. Not on this team. He's not. He's making.
Well, he is a playmaker. He is a playmaker.
There's no. I mean, what I gotta tell you?
Well, it's about opportunity. He's also on a team that has Deebo, Ayuk, Jennings, Conley, Pearsall. I mean, there's not a lot of room at the end.
But has one of those guys established himself as so cannot be removed off the field to explore what we have in our? I mean, it's clear.
Yes, they have.
Not excited about Jacob Cowing's career yet. It's
everybody in the wide receiver room has more clout than Jacob Cowing. JJ, more clout. Deebo, more clout. Ayuk, more clout. Pearsall, more clout. Who?
Ronnie Bell?
Ronnie Bell. Ronnie Bell's got less. Good call.
But he's out there more.
Well, and not really, though. Only on special teams for the most part. But I mean, use Cowing. Use him on from scrimmage. Don't use him as a punt returner because he can't keep his feet, and I felt like he was going to fumble on that last one. He did lock up the football. When bodies got around him, but it really felt like a fumble.
How about a 5 wide receiver set where Jacob Cowing is in it? How about that? How about one of those a game? Just one, just to catch the other team off guard. Just cause.
I'd like to see more formations with Mason in the backfield and CMC. Put in the slot. I'd like to see CMC as a flexed out and used as a receiver. They're gonna throw it to him anyway. I'd like to see them take advantage of Mason and McCaffrey on the field at the same time. All right, let's go to these supers. David E says, "Is there any question in your mind that Moody will lose a playoff game this year?" I don't feel good today.
Not really
today. Doc Holliday, does Jake Moody have a more fitting last name? Moody, I get you. Nice guy too, by the way. It just didn't happen for him this weekend. Dice Boy says, "Good morning, Larry and Bruce."
Hold on. I'm sorry. I'll say this about Moody.
Yeah.
Everything he says publicly is good. Like, he owns up to it. He doesn't run from it. He knows he seems like a solid young man who is struggling a little bit here at the dawn of his career. There is talent, clearly, but this team can't invest in future talent as much as it needs a kicker who's going to hit its field goals now. Okay, go ahead. Sorry. Dice Boy.
Dice Boy says, "Good morning, Larry and Bruce. What up with the Warriors and Niners almost blowing leads? Scary wins yesterday." I didn't even see. I was so busy with football that I haven't even had my OKC Warrior viewing yet, but I taped it. It's on the DVR.
I'll tell you what happened. It looked like all the earmarks of last game of an already successful road trip, and it looked like they were just going to kind of mail it in, but then the Warriors caught a little fire there. Third quarter went bonkers. Steph went nuts, and they pushed out a big lead that almost evaporated at the end. They had to hold on. They had to, play some clean basketball in the final 4 minutes of that game, but they got the win, and and so it was an awesome road trip. 4-1 for the Warriors on that road trip. And it's the Klay Thompson returns game tomorrow night at Chase Center. I think I'm going to that one. And, dude, Warriors got something. What that something
By the way,
I don't know, but
R.C.
they're good.
Davis sent me a note yesterday. He's like, "Please pump the hell out of our captain hats for Klay, along with the salute the captain directive. We would appreciate it greatly." So I told him I would.
Fan giveaway they got a great giveaway. They're giving away a skipper's captain hat for Klay's return. So hopefully everyone gets one. And Larry, I was talking about this yesterday. I know we're going to keep it on football here, but I think Klay Thompson is about to receive the single largest former Bay Area superstar ovation in the history of the Bay Area. I think that the game will not start on time, that fans will be cheering Klay Thompson for a good 2-3 minutes. They're not going to let the intros continue. As soon as they hear Klay Thompson's name, I think Chase Center goes nuts for minutes.
How many of those people will be cheering for Klay? How many of those people will be cheering for Dunleavy replacing Klay with Buddy Hield?
Hey, no regrets. No regrets, okay? I'm glad the trade was made. It had to go. Yeah. It was a goodbye time, but he deserves – Klay Thompson is a god in this town forever.
Welcome back, Klay, but you had to fucking go.
Yeah.
Joseph Ernberg, Lions are better literally everywhere than the Niners. I'm not sure everywhere, but pretty much everywhere.
Most places.
D. Martinez says, "Brian Schneider is a dead man walking." I don't think so. I think
if they were going to replace him, I think they would have done it during the bye.
Yeah, the Niners are too nice for that. Might be too nice overall. Real OBJ CDT. What is that? Not sure what that means. Common theme with Super Bowl winning teams, great special teams.
It's a common theme. Yeah, look at it this way. Teams that ignore special teams are beaten by teams that don't. Did you see how Kansas City won? Did you see how Kansas City remained undefeated by blocking what would have been a game-winning field goal by the Denver Broncos yesterday? Good teams. The Pittsburgh Steelers are always making money on special teams. And look at how good and what a surprise they are this year.
Well, I mean, here is my one big beef with this current regime of Niners. Eddie D would have found out what are the rules and let's work around the rules as much as we possibly can. There are no rules about what you pay your coaches. But if Eddie D still owned the team, they'd be paying the Dave Taub would be a Niners coach, and he'd be coaching special teams and probably making twice the salary that he's making right now. And if Spagnuolo was, if Eddie D were here, Spagnuolo would be the Niners defensive coordinator, making twice as much in San Francisco that he was making in Kansas City. But no. Now, even though there are no rules in place about paying assistant coaches, the Niners still have a rookie first-year defensive coordinator and a rotation of guys at special teams coach, and that aren't the best special teams coaches in the game.
Right. So, and no one knows what Brandon Staley does this many games into Brandon Staley being here.
Yeah.
Nathan.
All right. We got this one from Nathan McFadden. He says this game was carbon copy of the Super Bowl with opposite results. Luter gate result and touchdown. Defense held late this time. Brock got the throw off for the touchdown. Ugly, but a W.
Take that W every single time.
Appreciate you.
All the ugly W's. They're so much better than pretty losses.
Cigar Smoker says, love listening to you guys together. Football is secondary.
Oh, thank you.
Fuji Simeon says, Deebo jet sweeps aren't beating teams anymore. Yeah, I mean, it's like,
Not
seriously,
really.
put that one away. Or, I mean, it's just not, it's just not, it's the angle. It's like he's got to get his first 3 steps have to be run faster. He has to be going north-south. A lot of the problems, like when on that first run to Deebo, he got a nice angle and he was running north-south. He made one guy miss and he got 10 yards out of it, maybe 11. But the rest of the time that he's getting the ball in these end arounds, he's running parallel to the line of scrimmage. He's a receiver. He's not a running back. He is not going to cut quite like a running back that quickly, that efficiently, that explosively. And he just, it's easy. He just gets run out of bounds before a lot of times it's a TFL. A lot of times he doesn't get back to the line of scrimmage. So, yeah, if they're going to keep running that, you better get Deebo's first 5 steps a whole lot faster than they are right now. James, Jimmy, DDS for you. There you go. What's up, Jim? Good to see you. This is the Walnut Creek Dentist to the stars.
I was about to say, look at that smile. Very toothy, very white, very nice. Nice job.
I just saw on Facebook. You guys had a little date night last night, Jim. So I hope everything went well. Jim says here's a 20 spot. Look at that. He says, Larry, always bringing the best analysis. Screw ESPN. Larry, thoughts on CMC's return? How did he look yesterday? I thought he looked great. I thought he absolutely looked great. He made me nervous before the anthem when they did a close-up of him on the sideline, and he was looked like he was putting his knee back together with his hands. Did you see that? Where he's pushing on his kneecap and pushing on his back of his knee. It was weird. It was like, is this guy trying to push his knee together? It was weird to see.
Yeah, it looked like he was pushing Lego blocks together, trying to make sure they're all stuck. No, he's just getting that knee loose, Larry. Just rubbing out those knees, I guess.
Christian's awesome. 5 yards on the first carry. I mean, he's just a great player. He's a great, great player.
He's going to go to the Hall of Fame. He's going to go to the Hall of Fame, and hopefully he goes in as a 49er.
And hopefully he gets the Niners to the Super Bowl. Fuji Simeon says,
he already has. Now he just needs
WSA. What's WSA? Was Moody just rusty from IR?
I mean, I don't know. He's been missing kicks like that since he got into the league. So
I'll chalk it up to rust. I don't know. I can't really say one way or another. Tommy Huxley says Moody is a bust.
I don't know about bust, but he's certainly no boom.
Wasn't a good day yesterday for Moody. Let's just say this. I'm pretty sure Jake did not get on the plane and say, hey, man, you're sitting in my seat to somebody. I'm sure he probably just took whatever seat was available.
Look at a flight attendant, be like, yo, beers right here. We're winners.
Hey, a round. Let's get it rolling. Can you imagine? Fuji Simeon says,
the horses.
Yeah. Look at that. Purdy can lead a game-winning. Look at that. Purdy can lead a game-winning drive. What will Greg Jennings say now? What will Colin and Wright say now? Does Purdy go up in quarterback rankings? Yeah, well, it's funny. They don't love him.
By the way, I did have a little on Purdy for you. Let me just give you this, Larry. His 7 career games now with 300 or more passing yards are the 5th most in franchise history.
Wow.
Brock Purdy's been here for 5 minutes. He's already 5th on the most 300-yard passing games in franchise history. He's got 7. Believe it or not, you'll never get who's in front of him. If he's got 7, who's sitting in front of him with 11?
And this is 300-yard days?
300-yard days. Montana is number 1 at 35.
Montana, Young, Garcia?
Yep, Jeff Garcia. And then Purdy is 7. Who's got 11? Who is between Purdy and Jeff Garcia?
Alex?
Nope.
No, not Alex. Kaepernick?
Nope.
No. Brody?
Nope. Think handsome.
Jimmy G?
Jimmy fucking G. 11 300-yard games for the 49ers. 4th most in franchise history. Maybe he wasn't as bad as we thought at times. And yet he was totally as bad as everyone thought at other times.
Oh, my God. He made me nervous, especially if his first read wasn't there.
Here's the other thing for you. Here's the other thing for you, Larry, and then I'm done. We'll just crush the supers. Purdy is the second quarterback since 1950 with a rating of 100 or more in 10 of his first 15 career road starts.
What I love about Purdy the most is when I think you saw it last year in the playoffs against the Lions and the Packers. You're going to make some mistakes. You're going to get aggressive. But guess what? He always seems like in the fourth quarter when the money's on the table, he plays his best ball. He elevates. He blocks out the earlier in the game failure, and he compartmentalizes. He's not – a lot of quarterbacks, when they have turnovers, they have bad plays, it just sticks with them, and they're ruined for the day. This guy has a way of – we saw it in the playoffs against Green Bay. We saw it in the playoffs against the Lions. Things aren't going well, but guess what? He'll make plays when the money's on the table. So I love that about him. Fuji Simeon says, hope Pearsall can be the Niners' Wes Welker or Julian Edelman. You trippin' says, D. Bruce and Larry are legit. Great shows. Radio lost, YouTube won.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Dale says, over Bosa, are you? Something is different, and we need him to play better. Constant over pursuit, terrible against the run. Off-season trade of Bosa for picks. I don't think Bosa's going anywhere. The Niners, I don't see them trading him, but I don't see Myles Garrett. I don't see Aiden Hutchinson. I don't see the absolute top tier defensive end with Bosa.
He's not TJ Watt. He's
a good player. I see a really good player. I don't know if I see an all-timer.
How about this? Let's hold off on any Hall of Fame induction talk for Nick Bosa. One defensive player of the year doesn't quite get you there. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes. He's also, by the way, very much on track to be the 49ers all-time franchise sack leader if he just keeps on playing. So
he's a tremendous player. He's a tremendous player. But that play against Baker yesterday, yank his arm, dive at his knee, do not walk 4 yards with a quarterback arm in arm ever again.
He's a very good player, but he's not. Here's the thing. He's not the game wrecker that the 49ers need him to be. He's not wrecking games.
It's not Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
I mean, Myles Garrett's better. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson's better. Those guys are better than Nick. Fuji Simeon, Kittle is having a good year, needs more targets. Yeah, we talked about that before.
Amen.
Get Kittle the ball. My God. Find another blocking tight end and get Kittle out in the pattern. Fuji Simeon, another reminder that the Cowboys are a dumpster fire, channeling Kendrick Lamar. I quote, they not like us. Dak possibly out for the season. Parsons is unhappy. They're done. I mean, I told everybody in August, the Cowboys can't stop the run. They can't run the ball. They're going nowhere.
Ben Johnson, I think, will be the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
You think so?
Why wouldn't you? If you're Jerry, why wouldn't you go hire the young guy who makes offenses whiz to go run your team? I mean, that's
the question is, though, he turned down the Commanders last year. Why is he going to go? He now wants to work for the most meddlesome owner / GM and his idiot son. I think he was going to have better options in Dallas, to be honest.
Say whatever you want, dude. It's the Dallas Cowboys.
But you know what? It's the Dallas Cowboys. But if Jerry and his idiot kid are picking the players, you ain't going anywhere. I mean, the reason the Lions are the Lions is because their general manager is making the right calls. And I'll say this. I know this will be unpopular, and I know this is going to be unpopular. If I were the 49ers, I would hire John Dorsey as an NFL draft consultant, the way that the Lions have hired John Dorsey as an NFL draft consultant, the way that Cleveland before the Lions hired John Dorsey as an NFL draft consultant, the way that Kansas City before them hired John Dorsey as a draft consultant. Everywhere John Dorsey goes, great drafts follow. And the Niners absolutely, in this Purdy era where you're paying him, have to have great drafts. And I know they don't want to hear that because they love John Lynch and they love their own, Tariq Ahmad and RJ Gillen and all their internal guys. Those guys aren't John Dorsey. They don't have his credentials. None of them do.
So you're saying John Dorsey's the new Scott McCloughan?
Yes. Or Scott McCloughan. Contract with a couple of these guys and get some outside opinions. Do not miss any more in the first round or you're done. I mean, it's as simple as that. You miss in the first round anymore, you're done. Fuji Simeon says, what's your take on how the Giants are looking to cut payroll next season? Does that mean no major free agent signings? Also, Sasaki getting posted. LA's the favorite to sign him. And does Soto get more than $700 million? Fuji Simeon, I'll say this. We're not going to scare off the entire audience by talking Giants. I will say this, though. I did watch Roki Sasaki, and he makes Yamamoto look like a kid.
Dude. Yeah.
So if I were the Giants, I would definitely see if I could get in line for Roki Sasaki. I don't know how, because it's not going to be about money.
Don't say a word about it. Don't tell Susan Slesser that you're doing your very level best to sign him. Just nothing. Either do or don't.
Yeah. I love those loser takes when you lose and then you're like, the people that I'm rooting for actually had a fantastic trade deadline. The people that I'm rooting for just had a fantastic campaign. It's like, all right, enough. When you lose and you fail, you didn't have a fantastic anything. Okay, that's it.
I was told the pitch was perfect. Couldn't have gotten the pitch any better. Could not have nailed that meeting anymore. Except there's no player to actually show for that. Perfect.
Wait a second. I was told that the people who cover the team have never been more bought and paid for than this group of people. Dale says Dan Campbell would be the winner in an ass-kicking contest where he has only one leg. Hard not to like that guy. Damon, do you have the soundbite?
I sure do.
Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass.
How do you not love that guy?
Well, you don't love him if you were a Lions fan and you watched the NFC Championship game because he cost them. Well, he cost them again.
But it feels like he learned.
Yeah.
He learned.
Oh, yeah, seriously. J_Cuda83. How about last night? I don't know if you caught this. Did you watch any last night or were you doing
I had it on. I was putting kids to bed. But yes, it was
Did you see the interview that he did at halftime?
No.
So he comes all, you know how like right before the second half, here comes, and Lisa Salters or whatever catches up, or whoever it wasn't Lisa Salters.
I hope he didn't hit her with a.
Come on, Dees.
No, it was whatever her name is on NBC, who does the whatever. Anyway, she interviews him. He's like, you know what? I talked to the guys at halftime. We need to take the ball away, and literally, as they're like, Stroud back to pass, intercepted by the Lions. I mean, the guy jumped the route. It was like unbelievable. The Lions are playing great ball right now. Unbelievable.
Survive a 5 turnover game on the road.
Yeah, you're doing good.
The football gods have kissed you on your forehead.
Jay Kuda says, ain't nothing with Deebo holding Moody in check. He got a captain patch for a reason. Pepper did nothing wrong, too. All in all, the whole team needs to lock in. It's all hands on deck from here on out. I agree with all that.
Look at it this way. The media will be shaking its fist at this moment. Not a single 49er is even thinking about it or will think about it moving forward.
Here's the thing, though, dude. Let me just say one other thing on this. Yeah, it ain't nothing for Deebo as a captain to hold Moody in check. But does he need to be held in check? Isn't there a coach? He has a special teams coach. He has a head coach. He doesn't need the wide receiver to hold him in check. And as far as you want to hold somebody in check, that's fine. But when Pepper comes back and says, "Hey, man, fuck you. You're not perfect. Screw off." Guess what? You can't put your hands around Tabor's neck. You know what I mean? You can't. That's where he made the mistake. 49er Red Zone. This is the top morning show in the Bay. 100. Thank you. JC Montana says best show on YouTube. Thank you. Fuji Simeon says Chet Holmgren fractured hip out 8 to 10 weeks. Oh,
in the history of Andrew Wiggins went to the rack hard and he put Chet Holmgren on his hip, and Holmgren was really hurt. You could just tell he didn't put any weight on his leg walking off. That's a terrible injury. That's a shame. But in the history of in the history of playing aggressive basketball, I don't know if I've ever seen a more aggressive in the moment move by what Andrew Wiggins did in that injury moment. Yeah. Wiggins went to the rack like it said something about his mama. I mean, it was not, I couldn't believe it was Wiggins that did that. So
I said this at the time, and I'll stand by it. I love Chet Holmgren's skill, and there's no chance in hell I would have drafted him because his body is going to break. Yeah. His body is not made for 82 regular season games and 100 games between preseason, regular season, and postseason. It's not. He can't play that many games. He's going to have injuries throughout his entire career. I would have run from him just because of that reason alone. And I love his skill.
I don't know, when you got 1 million first-round draft picks, I think you can waste one on Chet Holmgren.
Yeah, and I get ready for lots of catastrophic injuries. That's one right there. fractured hip. Oh my god!
Already had a better career than James Wiseman.
Yeah, there you go. That's why you don't let the owner draft. Greg R. Jay-Z, better special teams in Super Bowl 23. Yeah, we had Joe. Yeah, the Bengals ran one back for a touchdown. You could argue better Chargers had better special teams in Super Bowl 29. They ran one back as well. Greg R. Jay-Z says, Larry, get some Niner stuff behind you. Damon knows. Well, it's all red back there. I'm that's about as far
Everyone's
as
got their
Niners
own look. Everyone's got their own look. They don't all need to lose.
Well, and I did have a bunch of Niners stuff back there originally, but then actually the Niners, after the channel got really, really popular, were like, hey, you know what? We love your channel. We love your content. We love you. But all those Niner flags that's our logo. That's our, we own our logo. So like they were like, hey, we love that you have Niner stuff, but could you have a Niner themed thing without having Niner logos in it? And so I was looking to change this the thing up. Damon's got a helmet, so the helmet's okay. But like if he had like something that had 49ers that wasn't the helmet, they eventually would come to him and say, hey, by the way, could you take
Well, here's the thing too. You're working for the flagship. You are, in the team, you're around the team, you got access, you're looking to play nice with the team. The truth is you could have told them and said, hey, I am working for an NFL partner of yours, YouTube. And when YouTube tells me to take it down, I will. You're not in the right to tell me to take it down, but you're played nice and you got your own look. You got your own. It looks like you're in a sports sauna, if you don't mind me saying. It's the sports sauna with Larry Krueger. Don't sweat it, everybody. It's the
and we can go football. We can go football themed here, or we can go Warriors theme if we have
change
to.
That line. Yeah. Ooh.
Go look Sacramento Kings.
Ooh, light the beam.
Oh, let's talk about the A's are going to Oakland.
You want to talk about weed? We can make the whole studio green.
Oh, we talked little Giants. They're looking a little yellow there, but there we go.
Yeah.
And back to red. Okay, that's going to do it for us. I'm going to be on with Papa in London 10 minutes, so I got a jet. Have a great day, everybody. Damon, what do you got cooking the rest of the day? Tell people where they can go and find you and what you're producing the rest of today.
Well, thank you, Larry. The answer is I'm producing Parenthood the rest of the day. So Parenthood is sometimes school vacations sneak up on you. It wasn't until about 8:30 last night where Jillian looked at me and said, oh, tomorrow's Veterans Day. The kids don't have to go to school. So I'm not doing an 11 o'clock show today. I'm going to be on dad duty. It's a rainy day here in San Francisco.
Yep.
So I'm on dad duty the rest of the day. Jillian's making the lion's share in income right here. So she's working today. I'm Mr. Momming it today, and we'll be at it again tomorrow at 11. I think Cyrus and I are going to be doing a little something on the Warriors later on this week. I've got some feelers out to a few of my favorite 49er guests to join this week. So we will know more about this week when we officially move into it on Tuesday. But for the rest of the day, my title is Dad. So there we go. It's the best title. So I'm very happy to be going to do that, everyone. And to any members of the United States military who is watching today, thank you so much for your service. To all the veterans out there, those watching, those not watching, thank you for protecting us as we sleep comfortably at night. It means an awful lot. My father was a veteran, so I've got nothing but love for veterans. And thank you very, very much for all you do in your service. And we don't even need the Balky Ralph ending. Let's end it on a serious note. Thank you, veterans, for all you do. And there you go. I'll talk to everyone on Tuesday at 11. Tell Papa and Lund I said hello, Larry. You take care, bud.
And Jesse Sapolo has tweeted about the Tabor Pepper Deebo thing. He says it happened during our 49er era, LOL. Not a big deal when you hold yourself to a high standard. Seahawks are up next. Go Niners. There you go. A little bit of Jesse. Join me on KMBR in 8 minutes with Papa and Lund. We'll break this thing down and then later today, Raj is going to stop by. Shanahan's got a presser at 3:30. We'll do a video about that. A lot to get to. Join me tonight on Niners Nightly. No guests tonight scheduled. All your phone calls at 808 KMBR. So join me tonight at 6.
It's going to be like sports phone. Oh my gosh.
Pick one. You go ahead and pick one. Pick one, Tom. Pick one.